On a moonless night, in the winter of 373 BC, the air above the Gulf of Corinth was strangely still, as if the world itself were holding its breath. The people of Helike, a proud Greek city known for its beauty and power, went about their evening rituals, unaware that this night would be their last. Far out in the black water, something shifted. Dogs began to bark wildly. Birds took to the sky in frantic flocks. And then the ground beneath their feet trembled, once, twice, before splitting apart with a roar that drowned every other sound. The earth groaned, the sea heaved upward, and in a matter of moments, Helike was gone, swallowed by the waters that had once been its lifeblood. No survivors were ever found. By morning, all that remained was a turbulent, muddy lagoon where a thriving city had stood only hours before. That was more than 2,300 years ago, and yet the mystery of Helike has never truly been laid to rest. What happened that night? And why did the sea seem to conspire with the earth to erase the city so completely? Helike was not some obscure village. In its time, it was one of the most important cities in Achaea, famed for its wealth, its bronze coinage stamped with the image of Poseidon, and above all, its great temple to the god of the sea himself. Merchants came from far-off lands to trade in its markets, and travelers spoke of its broad streets and its harbor bustling with ships. Its people saw themselves as favored by the gods, especially Poseidon, whose protection they believed was as eternal as the tides. And yet, there were whispers. Ancient writers claim that in the years before its destruction, Helike refused a request from the Ionian Greeks to dedicate a statue to Poseidon in their city. Some say they turned the Ionians away with insults, even violence. Whether this was hubris, politics, or simply pride, the story took on a life of its own after disaster struck. For in Greek myth, to offend a god, especially one with dominion over both sea and earthquake, was to invite ruin. When the end came, it came without mercy. According to the geographer Strabo and the Roman writer Aelian, the catastrophe struck in the dead of night. A violent earthquake flattened the city. Within moments, a massive wave surged inland, drowning the ruins and sweeping what remained into the sea. Ships anchored offshore were smashed to splinters. By dawn, the site was gone, replaced by an inland lagoon choked with debris. Fishermen for centuries afterward claimed they could see the ruins glittering beneath the water when the sun struck it just right. What makes Helike so fascinating is that for over 2 millennia, it remained more ghost than place. Unlike Pompeii, which was rediscovered in the 18th century, Helike was lost entirely, its location forgotten, its remains buried under layers of sediment and water. Travelers, historians, and archaeologists all tried to find it. In the 19th century, some even thought they had, but the sites they excavated never matched the ancient accounts. The true Helike seemed determined to keep its secrets. But here's where the story gets stranger. Ancient sources hint that Helike's destruction wasn't a freak accident. It may have been part of a pattern. Other coastal cities in Greece suffered similar fates in antiquity, their names preserved only in myths or in the hushed tales of sailors. The land along the Gulf of Corinth is notoriously unstable, crisscrossed with fault lines. Earthquakes here are sudden, violent, and sometimes accompanied by massive shifts in the sea floor. The image that emerges is haunting. Helike's fate wasn't unique. It was simply the most famous. For centuries, Helike became a warning wrapped in legend, a parable about pride, divine punishment, and the raw, unpredictable power of nature. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus Ponticus wrote that the city's bronze statue of Poseidon still stood upright under the waves long after the disaster, tripping the nets of fishermen. Pliny the Elder mentioned that even in his day, 5 centuries later, the ruins could be seen below the water. Imagine that, a drowned temple, its columns encrusted with coral, its god staring through the murk with unblinking bronze eyes. And yet, the true story of Helike remained tantalizingly out of reach until the 1990s, when 2 Greek archaeologists, Dora Katsonopoulou and Stephen Soter, decided to try a different approach. Rather than looking along the current coastline, they studied ancient river courses and patterns of sedimentation. The key insight was this: over centuries, rivers can change their paths entirely, burying former coastlines deep inland. Their research led them to a low-lying coastal plain near the modern village of Rizomylos. There, beneath farmland and silt, they found the outlines of ancient buildings, pottery shards, and coins bearing the unmistakable image of Poseidon. Further excavations revealed streets, walls, and evidence of earthquake damage, toppled stones frozen in the moment of collapse. They had found it. The lost city of Helike had been lying not under the sea, but under the earth, the sea having retreated after swallowing it whole. What they discovered changed our understanding of the disaster. It wasn't just a tsunami. Geological evidence suggests a complex chain of events. A powerful earthquake liquefied the ground, causing buildings to sink, while simultaneously triggering a massive displacement of water from the nearby Gulf. In effect, the earth turned to quicksand, while the sea surged in. Helike didn't just flood, it was pulled apart from above and below at the same time. Even more intriguing, the site contains layers from earlier periods of habitation, suggesting that Helike had been rebuilt more than once before its final destruction. It may have been living on borrowed time for centuries. And so we come to the theories. Was the disaster purely geological, or was there something more? To the ancient Greeks, the answer was obvious. Poseidon had turned against the city. Their interpretation is steeped in the belief that moral failings could manifest as natural disasters, that the world itself could respond to human pride. To modern scientists, the explanation lies in seismic activity, soil liquefaction, and the delicate dance between tectonic plates. But there's a third way to see it, not as a choice between myth and science, but as a layering of both. The myth of divine punishment is, in a way, a poetic recognition of the same truth science tells us, that the forces shaping our lives are vast, unpredictable, and utterly beyond our control. The sea does not need to be angry to be dangerous. The earth does not need to hate us to swallow us whole. When I think of Helike, I imagine the moments before the end. A city lit by oil lamps, the quiet lapping of water against the harbor, the scent of salt and olives in the air. Somewhere, a storyteller recites lines from Homer, and then, in an instant, the world shifts and the sea comes in. Even today, the Gulf of Corinth remains restless. Earthquakes ripple through the region every few years, and locals know the signs of the sea's unease. Perhaps that is why Helike's story resonates so strongly. It is both ancient and modern, both a cautionary tale and a reminder of our place in the world. If you ever find yourself on the coast of Achaia, stand at the water's edge at dusk. Look out toward the horizon. Beneath your feet lies a city that thought itself eternal, now silent under centuries of soil and sea. And remember, what is lost is not always gone. Thank you for walking with me into the past tonight. Now I'll ask you, if a city could vanish in a single night, what other histories might lie hidden beneath the earth, waiting for the right eyes to find them? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps keep these stories alive.